Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out a very early preview version of something called Ethereon by developer InnervisionVR. It's a first-person puzzle adventure game and is actually developed by one of the developers of Riven, which is actually the sequel to Myst if you're not familiar. A very formative and important game in the history of point-and-click adventures or in general just abstract kind of wonderful mysterious games. And this is definitely... you can feel the influence as I walk around. You're definitely going to pick it up right away. So let's get started, shall we? Let's take a look. This is a freaking beautiful area that we've spawned into here. I have played a little bit of this in advance of the recording just because I'm always worried whenever I play a puzzle game that I'm going to have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do, and then I'll end up just walking back and forth for a while. And that may very well be the case here, but at least I do have a couple of options as to what to do first. So at least I'll be able to show off a little bit of this game. Now I should say as a caveat, and I'll just bring up the help menu here so you can see the controls as we start. This was actually designed with RockLeeSmile in mind, so if you are playing this in the way that I'm playing it, which is just like the regular old, you know, boot up a Unity window and walk around in first-person style, you might be missing out on some of the experience as well as I might be missing out on some of the experience. But the good news is, even without that extra added element, it's quite immersive just as it is. So there's really not too much here to go over in terms of controls. It's really standard stuff. The one basic one here that's not usual is spacebar doesn't jump in this case. It's actually to bring up the help menu. But other than that, we're just going to be doing some walking with WASD, holding shift whenever necessary to get a little bit of momentum going, and just kind of using our left mouse button to pick up and interact with certain objects. You're probably wondering, why aren't I going over to all of these little obelisks on either side here? Well, these don't actually do anything off the top. We're going to hopefully get to a position where we can actually interact with them to some capacity, but for the moment, not so much. I do want to draw attention, of course, to the vastly beautiful starscape that we've got ahead of us. There is actually very likely a role that this plays in this whole thing, although I haven't figured out all of it yet, but, you know, we've got a few planets sitting up there in the sky. We've got some solar systems. We've got all kinds of things off in the distance. We've also got what looks to be an infinite planescape of water going off in every direction as well, and you can actually see some lovely reflections of the things up there in the sky, too. Everything's got this great quality to it where it's a little bit reflective, a little bit got like a sheen to it. There's some golden stuff here. There's definitely a little bit of an Egyptian theme, as you've probably already picked up on, although you could just say it's a bit of a mysterious sort of intergalactic vibe, because it seems like these sort of themes tend to converge pretty often. But I love this color that happens as we walk up these stairs. Like, this reflectivity picks up these gaseous cloud starscapes up in the sky and just sort of reflects them back to us in a lovely way. What's up with this, though? This is the big question. This is our only point of contact at the moment. Looks to be some sort of a sundial, but what am I going to do with a sundial in the middle of the night? Well, isn't that the question? Alright, let's just keep walking, because there's actually something going on down here. I don't want to spoil too much about this, so I'll very likely stop the play a little bit faster than I would have normally, because I am quite engrossed in this, and I'd really like to see how far this demo goes, or this preview version goes, but in this case, I really don't want to spoil what could happen if I end up getting too far in this, and I'm not sure quite how far they let you go, but I have seen some things that felt like a little bit spoilery to me just by looking into some of the background information on this. So you're probably curious what's going to happen if I mess around with this object. We can click and drag it and grab it around. One of my minor complaints is using the, you know, regular standard first-person mode in this, the non-Oculus format. You don't have a great idea of when you can interact with an object. You basically just have to line it up with the center where you'd imagine there could be a reticle, and I don't really have a way of always knowing if I'm right on top of the object that I want to interact with, especially when objects are fairly small, and that'll happen a few times here. So this is the big reveal, and I'm sorry to spoil this for anybody if you didn't figure this out right away. It's not very hard to figure out. I'm sure you probably would have come upon it fairly quickly. But falling on that lever actually causes the ocean to plunge into this big old pit, and very quickly seems to fill it up, and then our walls sort of slide back into place. So why would we want to create some sort of a massive wishing well fountain area out of what used to be a big old pit, I wonder? Well, why don't we try interacting with this a little bit more, and perhaps I could lead you into discovering the answer to one of these early puzzles here. I do like the very sort of dissonant quality that these puzzles have. There's not a lot of games that take advantage of this style of puzzle solving anymore. It is definitely a bit on the trial and error side, at least from what I've seen so far. But it's done in a reasonably tasteful way where there's not so many variables that it feels like you'll be stuck forever. And what we've revealed here is a pit with some steps that are actually ascending up to us. So we'll try and mess around with that in a moment. And it does look like we can go down there now. The lights have been illuminated, and we can make our way down. And we've got some lovely music to back us as well. That's what I like. There's these little feelings of like a gestalt as you discover new areas, and the music helps to give you a little bit of positive reinforcement about that as well. And I really do like whenever games happen to do that, especially with a game that's so mysterious as it is. To give you just that little bit of reinforcement just kind of tells you you're going in the right direction, and, you know, there's some really wild things ahead. And I will say again, there are some very wild things ahead that I hope that you guys will get to experience. I should mention also this game is on Kickstarter right now, and I'm not sure to what degree it will be successful, but I do hope that it's going to be successful because it's a very cool idea and it seems like it's very well implemented already. So we can grab these sort of like whistle bell type things out of the wall, and we can move them around with a bit of a clang, slot them in wherever we feel is necessary. For the moment, I'm actually just going to kind of symmetrically mirror one side on each end, and I'm not sure exactly what the point of these are just yet, because I haven't actually solved whatever this puzzle is that I presume would reveal something to do with these 6 holes, or perhaps even open up a gate here, because I do actually see there's some like seams in the bricks around the edges. Sorry, it's in my like introspective, analytical nature to want to analyze every single seam that I can find in the game environment. I really love how this shine goes around the wall too, and doesn't have much of like a flickery quality, or there's not really like obvious edges. So everything's just really polished and lovely feeling. So let's walk back up here now that we've moved some of those whistles around and see if we can come to any new conclusions. Everything seems normal back in this direction from what I can tell. Right? Nothing happened with the monoliths. Nothing happening in this crazy UFO looking room. There's like this Gravitron ride that I had gone on when I was a little kid. Reminds me a lot of that, where you get like centrifugal force stuck to the wall, and then the floor would kind of fall away, and you would just be hanging there on the wall as the thing spins around. Kind of wonder now, with the insight that I have into how biology works, like, is that really good for you? It seems like a really bad idea. Not a lot of situations where that could be very healthy. I wonder how many people got into, you know, health risks based on something like that. Anyway, tangents aside, it doesn't look like anything has changed over there on the other side of the UFO wall. So I think I'll try and play around with the sundial a little bit more, and hopefully cause some more shooting stars, or whatever that just was a second ago. Alright, so that way doesn't seem to move. If you're wondering, I can't move this past a certain point. Like, I go down just a little bit, and it just releases from my grasp and falls back up again, or slides back up. I can grab it and try and lift it. That's not doing anything, so the next obvious thing to do is step on it. Again, see if that helps. No? Doesn't seem to help. What else can I even do at that point? No, nothing at all, huh? Alright, I guess the object is not really able to be manipulated for whatever reason. So I guess what I'll do is I'll go back here and I'll try and move some of these bells around, or those whistles around, see if that makes any substantial difference. I have reason to believe that it does, but I don't really know why I know that, only because I happen to have gotten further than this puzzle in the preview version, but I don't know why I accidentally was able to solve that. Just happened to be the way that it went, so put that right back there. And then we're going to grab this one on this end, lift it up here. It also might have been a time-based thing. I mean, I'm not really sure why whatever happened, but I do hope that I can replicate it for the video, because it definitely gives you a bit of an insight as to how deep this rabbit hole goes, and it does go even a lot further than that even. So we're going to move those now, and that was my way of testing it prior. Now I know whatever I did before didn't work properly, so we're going to go with the thing that, well, for whatever reason happened to work, I believe. Back up the steps. It's a little bit of a slow process going up those steps. Moving speed in this is very deliberate, and I have the reason to believe that it's just sort of to replicate that sort of feeling of anticipation and suspense, since you're dealing with such like epic scale monoliths and things that are very grand in nature. You know, walking slowly sort of gives you a better reverence for those sort of things, and you know, if we walked really quickly, we might get to our goals a little faster, but this isn't exactly supposed to be a speedrunny type of game from what I can tell, so hopefully it does do something to set the tempo and the pace a little bit of what it is that we're here to experience. Really? Nothing changed, huh? Doesn't seem like anything changed there. Trying to pull the lever again. Still seems to be stuck. I'm trying to rotate it, by the way, in case that's an option. It does not seem to be. I was thinking, since there's like, it looks like these little chevrons here are sort of correlated with a line of sorts. So like, if I could slide this around whatever degrees this is to line up with this one, maybe that would change something. But it doesn't seem like that's even a possibility for us. The only way we can really interact with this sucker seems to be push it down, pull it up, or walk across the top of it and hope that that causes something to change. In this case, doesn't seem like it, actually. Very curious. There aren't really too many other things we can even do here, so I guess I just have to keep trying to realign the whistles and hope that at one point I can get them to go where they need to go. I did do something a little bit different before. I had lined them up like this. I'm pretty sure I put them all into their top slots first and probably messed around with the object there. That seems like kind of an obvious thing to do, right? So let's try that real fast and see if that works. Thankfully, the ambience here is so good that, like, it's really compelling to just want to stick around and hang out in this environment. And I'm kind of just totally fine with that. As long as there's enough things to look at over time and it doesn't end up that we're just wandering back and forth for too long, I feel like I could be okay with it. Alright, all of those have been moved. Now we'll go back up the steps one more time. Sorry if this is a little bit boring to watch. But I do have some confidence that we should be able to get something to happen here eventually. And it's pretty cool what happens. It actually reminds me a lot of one of the first areas in the original Myst. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it ends up sort of working out that way, I think, for me anyway. Oh. That looked like it went down further than it had before. Although I don't see any effect, actually. Let's try walking across it again. Ah! I hear lasers. I hear building. Alright, we're gonna fill this back up with water now. Don't ask me why. And good, so we can leave that area. We can't go in the water, in case you're wondering. And what else has changed? Anything? Doesn't look like it. Now, what if we mess with this lever and try and pull it up? That seems like something, right? Oh, it's drained the water back out again. Wait a minute. That's not quite right. Let's try doing this at the same time. There we go. It's like a freaking puzzle box. Alright, we've discovered a staircase beneath the central monolith. Now, how exciting is this? This is what I was saying that reminds me a lot of the original Myst. Beneath that staircase was that little map area, if you remember, with the sort of a hologram on it that you could click on pegs and things slide around. This has a similarly strange and stupefyingly odd feeling about it. So we've got this sphere, and at the top of it seems to be some sort of pedestal. And then we've got all these little lights, little raised spheres going on too, and this peg as well, which I'm going to try and mess with in a second. But just notice that each of these seem to have a color. Now, if you're being particularly observant, you might notice also that each one of these colors happens to correspond with one of the little mini monoliths on the left and right side as we were walking around upstairs. So I don't know quite where that's going to go yet, but I'm pretty sure that there is some sort of theme that's happening right now that we're supposed to pick up on. Also notice inside of the sphere seems to be, almost looks like a pentacle or something in there, or some kind of Star of David maybe? I don't really know what that is, but it's sort of embedded in the central marble of whatever that is. And we can also maybe see, can we see through the floor, or is that just reflecting the ceiling? I'm not sure. Maybe both, maybe neither. Let's mess with this peg. Ah, there we go. And a beautiful light has been revealed. Now everything's rotating. And all of a sudden, the way out is no longer a way out. It's now a golden, beautiful hallway. And we've just got this little light stick to illuminate our way down. The music is playing very appropriate cues here, and I think it's got just the right mood and tempo for what's going on. Alright, that looks like a never-ending shaft of some kind that we could fall down, maybe? No, we actually can't. There's actually a thing stopping us there. Love these golden bricks. This is like the city of gold all of a sudden. I love gold. Let's plug this sucker into this slot here and see if that triggers what I'm hoping to be something very cool. Ah, there it is. That's what I was after. Now there's a similar slot beneath that door, so we're going to see if we can pull this sucker back out. Line up, find the center. Beautiful. That's what I mean by some of the objects are a little bit small. You can't always find exactly where it needs to be. But I imagine if you had, like, you know, Oculus support, finding depth on things would be much, much easier. Oh, how beautiful that is. And what is that? It looks like a rainbow of discs. Blue, green, orange, red. Is that like charcoal and then silver? Let's grab that whole mess. And it will sort of mysteriously go to us and then disappear. I'm not sure if that's because it was added to my inventory or what. But we can take that back. And that'll go away. I don't know if there's any other thing to do over here. Can I... What happens if I plug this back in just out of curiosity? One would think it would just cause that to come back down again. It's hard to see the slot because of the light is so bright. It's blown out my focus. Maybe I just can't put it back in because it looks like it's like making a weird sound. Whatever. Okay, good enough. I guess we got what we needed to get out of that. Got the little rack of discs or whatever those bizarre little objects are, and hopefully we can find some use for them. It wouldn't take a big leap of logic here to imagine that those discs being colored the way they are might have something to do with these. Or they might have something to do with the monoliths at the top of everything. So let's plug the stick thing back into... Where's the slot for it? Is it this one? I think it's this one. And that'll cause everything to re-rotate around, lining up the path. And now we have our way back out again. Now last time I thought I saw something under the floor that I'm not seeing anymore. I wonder if maybe I had discovered something else by accident by rearranging where those whistles or bells or whatever things those were. Little brass things down in the pit there is what I mean. So we're going back up. We're getting another very mysterious cue coming from the music. And I wonder if something major has changed. Let's look around. Now we're just sort of reawakening to this world in a sense of awe. What is that? How beautiful is that? That reminds me so much of Shadow of the Colossus, actually. So there's giant prehistoric bioluminescent beasts under the water. I hope we get to hang out with them a little bit later. I hope they're not super dangerous, so that one looks kind of intimidating, I'll be honest. I love how the cosmos is just sort of reflecting off its back. Alright, looking downstairs, doesn't look like anything is majorly different there. But now we've got those discs, so what we should probably do is try and take a moment to walk around and see if these mini monoliths do anything. So to do that, we're going to have to actually bring the floor back up, because right now we can't actually interact with anything there. How do we do that, though? Lift this up? Nope, it doesn't react at all. Let's walk over it. There's only so many things I can really do. No? Stand on it for a while? Oh, there we go. I don't think I'd let it trigger all the way. So that's letting the water in there. But it's not causing the floor to go back up. What if I now try lifting it? I feel like that did something. No, it drained the water back out. I'm very bad at operating this lever for whatever reason. Or... oh, it is actually causing that to go back up. So maybe it's just got a series of toggle states that it goes through. Keep in mind, this is only like my second time ever interacting with this object other than... or the second time in total of me playing this game, rather. I have only done a little bit of playing before this recording. Alright, so each one of these has its own tone, as well as that colored gem that seems to illuminate as I walk up to it. So let's just sort of keep that in mind. Also, these glyphs may end up having some sort of role into things, but I don't know, I can't read them, unfortunately. So one more time. Get the tone in your head. Oh, do I have to look at it? Okay, there it is. Now let's walk across the way. And what do we have here? Okay, much higher tone that time. So we've got 6 of these in total. We've got 6 downstairs. We've got, presumably, there were 6... Oh, wow, that's very scary when you don't expect that to show up. Presumably 6 of those lights on the globe at the bottom of that. And what other 6s might there be here? Maybe the way that this is shaped. Well, it's set in 2 sets of 3, but, you know, that's what I already said. Maybe what we're supposed to do, and I don't actually know the answer to things at this point, is maybe we're supposed to arrange these tones in sequence, and maybe the fact that those look sort of like, you know, organ chimes, or I'm not really sure what the proper terminology is, those metal pipes downstairs sort of remind me a lot of a musical thing. Maybe that's telling me I need to find the proper sequence of these from lowest to highest tone, or highest to lowest, I'm not sure which. That's definitely a bit on the lower side. And then going across here, I'm going to presume maybe it'll just continue to get lower. Yeah, it does seem like we're going down scale a little bit. So probably at this point, the best idea would be to grab a notepad and write down the tone and the color that it corresponds to, as well as the location. So that way, if you needed to, you could sort of assemble a group of them in sequence. It's a little tough since you can't hear them play right next to each other. You got to kind of remember roughly where they fall into the scale. That is, if I'm even correct on this assumption. So we've got a dark gray. So where does that one fall? Was that lower than the last one? I've already kind of forgotten, unfortunately. And then this one here, I think, is the lighter gray. This is the silver one. There could also be hints that I'm not picking up on. Okay, that one might be the lowest. You know what I'm just thinking is probably there's some sort of something with these glyphs. Maybe these are also the same sort of hints, that maybe there's a way to read these and kind of pull which order we're supposed to walk up to these in. I'm going to presume that that's likely what the puzzle is, but at this point, actually, I do want to let you guys experience some of this yourself. As much as I'd love to solve this, and maybe I will do that on a stream at some point, but this is really, really cool and really interesting. And I'm definitely going to be watching development on Ethereon, because I can't wait to see what goes beyond this. There's some really cool stuff ahead, I have a feeling, and, well, I have an educated guess, again, based on the marketing materials I've seen, which I will warn you, if you want to look into this game, you may want to shield yourself from that, because I think the reveal of what could be beyond this could be very, very, very cool, and it seems a little bit like a shame to have that given away already. But anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. If you guys want to check this out yourselves, you can feel free. This in-development version that I'm playing right now is available through what will be the link in the description of this video, so you can feel free to go try it yourself, see if you can solve these puzzles, and if you do happen to solve them and want to chime in on what you feel like is going on in this demo, you can feel free to in the comments, as long as you make sure that you put a spoiler warning ahead of time, because not everybody will want to know these just by accident. I would be surprised if this wasn't some sort of a tone or chime puzzle, though. It does seem very much like that's really one of the only options, and I probably just haven't been observant enough to notice whatever the hint was, unless it was just these glyphs on each one of these monoliths. I haven't even really looked close enough to see if they're different from one to the next, or if the order of them is different or something like that. I think that one was the same, although this one also plays a little chime with a little tempo thing after it, too, so I don't know. Maybe that's a cue. Maybe I'm just supposed to walk up to them in whatever order until I find the one that makes the right chime based on that little after sound, whatever you call that. Anyway, I'm going to be done for today's episode. Very, very cool game, though. I definitely look forward to hearing your opinions on this one, and hopefully you guys will all want to check this out yourselves. It is a pretty small demo, and it's a Unity game, so you should be able to play this with full features. If you are lucky enough to have a Rift, I would be very, very excited to try this out in that as well. And feel free to chime in there, too, if you have the ability to, because I would love to hear opinions about just about anything. And if you enjoyed this video in general, feel free to leave a like, so that helps out a whole bunch. I will be back again tomorrow. New episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day without fail, so I look forward to bringing you a ton more. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.